I am Michelle Shanks with Summit Credit Union. Woo woo. And I am so grateful that we are in partnership with not just Century, but the Rock House Farms family. We are excited about today's workshop on Social Security and retirement. Chris Essex is one of the financial advisors here at the credit union. He has been with us for 17 years and is a wonderful resource. If you want to have a conversation with him individually or with your families, feel free. He will be located at our Hickory branch, so right down the road. So if anyone wants to meet with Chris, even if it's not in the office, he likes to enjoy a meal or two. So if you want to meet with him at your convenience, please let him know. You can get in touch with him or you can call the credit union at your convenience.
I'm the financial advisor for both the Hickory location and High Point for Summit Credit Union. I've had a lot of success working with a lot of the Century folks. I know your ESOP plan, I know your 401k. It's a very good 401k if you're not participating or you're wondering about the level of participation that you should have. I can definitely help you guide yourself through that process. And then as you get closer and closer towards retirement, we can actually look at the potential steps. Basically, our process that we entail is if you're interested in an appointment, we like to have you come in, chat a little bit about your goals, when you think you're going to retire, we got to put a line in the sand, so to speak, of when you think you might potentially want to retire. And then basically we build a plan from there. Unlike most financial advisors that really the only thing they're interested in talking about is your investable assets. We actually break down, we look at your investable assets, we look at what you're saving up until the point that you retire. The majority of plans, yours in particular, allows for in-service withdrawals if you're 59 and a half and over. Tell people all the time, happy 59th and a half birthday, and they always think I'm crazy when I do that, but that allows you to actually have more options beyond your 401k plan. Because the problem that you tend to have within 401ks in the current environment, they've taken away a lot of the investment options that you used to have in the past. So you really don't have a full rundown of potential avenues to invest in. So at that point, if what happens like currently happening, Russia invades the Ukraine, or, things happen with inflation, you don't have as many avenues to kind of run from the storm, so to speak. But basically what we do is we like to have you come in, kind of do a full rundown, like I said, of your goals, where you want to get in terms of, and then also when you want to retire. And then if you're single, we build it around that. If you're married, we do it that way. And then also if there's any other goals that you have potentially as you're looking at retirement, got a lot of people that all of a sudden decide they want to buy a beach house. Not the best move, but if that's something you want to look at, we can do that for sure. But one of the biggest things that a lot of the financial advisors that I work with, because I actually used to recruit and hire advisors as well, they never talk about health insurance. They never talk about when you actually retire. How do you actually maintain yourself from a health insurance standpoint to make sure that your medical concerns are taken care of? And beyond that, of course, when you leave Century, you lose your benefits, you lose your life insurance. If you've got long-term care or don't have long-term care, I know a lot of us probably have had situations where family members have kind of dealt with the long-term care scenario, whether it be Alzheimer's or whether it be home health care, or hopefully not in actual facility-based care. But that's something that a lot of times kind of gets left to the wayside, because most advisors, the only thing they're concerned about, oh, you got $100,000, great, let's do something with that. They don't talk about the other things that are really the most important, which is your healthcare events, your medical, your choice of when you take Social Security. They don't talk about the things that really matter, that allow you to retire comfortably and be able to live off of your income stream. Because that's really the key. I mean, most everybody in America along the way has had a monthly budget, and they may not always been the best at living by it, but it becomes even more important when you retire. So you want to definitely make sure the fact that whatever your fixed income expenses are, whether you have a mortgage, car payments, whatnot, those are always going to be taken care of. So we really structure everything from a standpoint of looking at your day-to-day bills and making sure that all those are always taken care of. And then everything on top of that, I hate to say, is gravy, because then at that point, if you want to take a trip, if you want to, like I said, maybe buy a beach house. But at the end of the day, we really want to have you in. The other thing that Summit does differently than a lot of other places, we really practice a low cost financial planning arrangement as one of the benefits to being a member. There's no cost to meet with me. There's no cost if you don't like me. I've got other advisors you can work with too. But there's no cost to sit with us. And really, at the end of the day, the whole goal is to set you up in the best scenario to allow you to retire comfortably. We do everything at your discretion, your timeline. There's no pressure to do anything. And really, our goal is to provide an education in terms of, okay, I want to retire. Great. When do you pull the trigger on Social Security? Do we do it at 62? Do we do it at 66? Full retirement age, whenever that may be for you, or never if the government gets their way? Who knows what's going to happen there? But we really want to take everything into account as we look at you physically retiring, because I have had some clients that didn't listen. They retired too early, and then next thing you know, they dipped into their investments quicker than what they expected, and then God forbid you have a downturn in the market. Hey, you end up going back to work. We don't want, if you retire, we want to keep you retired. But basically, are there any, that's kind of a quick nitty gritty of what we do. Are there any direct questions that any of y'all have regarding either the 401k plan, how much to save for retirement, your investment options within the 401k plan, healthcare as you retire? What are some of the topics? And this is kind of our first run through with this. So any feedback y'all have as well in terms of items that you want to hear going forward, because we're going to try to put together with Kelsey a program that will be beneficial to the employees. So if there's other topics like the long-term care hits a core because you had a family member that went through that, we can cover that directly. But our whole goal, honestly, is just to provide education and service to the members of the credit union. I am located in the Hickory branch. I am mobile, though. If you need to meet at home in the evening when you get off one day, I'm completely accessible as best as possible to all the members at any point in time.
You talked a little bit about the planning phase, Chris.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Concerning Social Security.
Yes.
I know that's definitely an individual topic.
Very much so. Very much so.
But what are some basic things that people may want to know concerning Social Security? What to look for, when to take advantage of it, how to take advantage of it, or if there are any pitfalls that they may need to be aware of?
Yeah, what we've seen along the years is the situation that Social Security is probably, I hate to say, one of the best growing potential income streams that you can have. So if you don't access Social Security, it grows at 8% annually. So you don't touch it, it continues to go up until you access it. Another thing that a lot of people don't know, let's say hatefully, and all marriages don't work out. You may have been married, and you may have been married for a period of 10 years. You may actually have access to either from a widow's benefit or a spousal benefit for somebody that you were married to in the past. A lot of times you may have to get on the phone call with Social Security office locally, but a lot of times you can potentially access benefits in a earlier fashion by living off of either a deceased spouse or divorced spouse, and really allow your income stream to continue to grow. So there's a lot of things that kind of go into the Social Security planning beyond just the sheet you get annually that says, hey, you worked this long, here's what your number will be. I wish I could say it's that easy, but a lot of times you have to dig into the actual details. And the other thing I get a lot of questions on is, what parts of Medicare do you have to have? And because Medicare is one of those things, absolutely, that you definitely need, and especially in the Hickory location and area, you want to definitely have Part B that's a concern that a lot of people, they're like, do I take it? Do I don't take it? Even if you're employed, sometimes you want to go ahead and take it so you have access to what's called a Medicare Advantage plan, which will save you a ton of money versus buying an actual Medicare supplement as well. So there's some tips that go along, but that's something. Now, I don't do healthcare myself directly, but I partner with an advisor that's all he does. He specializes in Medicare planning and can help you along those lines. And it also integrates in when we're talking about long-term care and how if you have a major health event, how you have the resources to take care of yourself. Because if you do have a long-term care event or a serious healthcare event, it can be the most damaging impact to your portfolio.
Well, I tell you what, you must have read their minds. We had a question in the chat concerning long-term care. What exactly is it? Um, and you have given a brief overview, but could you talk about it just a little bit more about what long-term care insurance is
Okay.
and its importance?
Okay, long-term care actually, and a long time ago, it was normally done with companies holding a private policy, kind of like your car insurance or homeowners insurance. Basically, what it would do, it would give you a stated value daily that you could use for care of yourself or someone else. Um, and it could be for anything ranging from adult daycare, home health care, could be assisted living, it could be actual facility-based care. And the amounts may differ or vary. The problem is when they designed the actual product, they never really understood that people might live a lot longer than what they had figured out or based the premiums off of. So traditional long-term care, the way we used to sell it 23 years ago, has changed significantly because people are living a lot longer. Great example. My grandfather, I mean, his mind wasn't with us, but his body lasted a very, very long time. And that's a situation that you come down to quite often. Dementia is one of those things that your body physically may be in great shape. You just may not have the cognitive ability to be able to do the things you used to do in the past. But basically, what long-term care and the normal route that we use to cover long-term care now would be a combination of life insurance mixed with a long-term care benefit. And it would allow you to, if you do go into that healthcare type scenario, have access to funds along with your Social Security to take care of yourself. And if you don't, unlike traditional long-term care, if you didn't use it, all those premiums you paid, you lost it. With life insurance, at least, if you never use it for long-term care, you still have the death benefit. And that's also important from the standpoint of you can leave your IRA money, which tends to be the largest asset that most people ever accumulate. IRA assets, if you leave it to your spouse, not a taxable event. You leave it to a non-spousal beneficiary, then it's taxable at whatever income tax rate they're at. So a lot of times, if you don't use that life insurance piece that was also tagged to take care of long-term care, it can also help to cover any taxable issues regarding your IRA to your beneficiaries. So it really is a very, very powerful planning product that a lot of advisors really don't cover because the majority of the only concern they've got is how much money do you have and how can we invest it? And regretfully, that's not the most important thing to most retirees and most members.
You've talked about long-term care. You've talked a little bit about a plan. When it comes to retirement,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's something I want to do at some point. That would be nice. I
Correct.
don't want to return back to work. But how does that plan affect your family? I mean, if you have monies set for retirement, I know life events happen. How can you plan not just for yourself, but for your family as well?
Yeah, that's one of the things, and that also goes along with, and it could be anything from life insurance planning. You also have, in addition to that, we do have access to a lot of products that kind of like companies in the old days had pensions. And if you worked here X number of years and then you retired, you had a monthly amount that was paid to you regardless of what happened. A lot of companies kind of went away from pensions and said do it yourself with 401ks. You can actually take a portion of your money and provide yourself a guaranteed income stream regardless of what actually happens with your investments. And you can also, if you want to, you can do it over just yourself, or you can actually protect yourself and your spouse. Um, but there's a lot of avenues that we can go through to actually provide a portion, or if not all of your income on a guaranteed basis. So you never have to worry about what the market is doing. And you know what will be there from month to month, because budgeting is something I think we've all done. Um, but the other thing is that you have to always plan for is what Michelle's speaking to, is those unplanned events that come about that, oh, well, heart attack, or it could be cancer, or, I hate to be morbid, but those are things that happen that can really impact your overall portfolio if you have to dip into them for a healthcare concern.
Question in the chat. Are there any general tips for what percentage of income you should contribute to a 401k?
The minimum I would do is always contribute to the match. Beyond that, it's going to sound silly. Give till it hurts. Pay yourself first, because honestly, what you'll see, because the 401k comes out basically pre-tax. So regardless of what you put in, the nominal impact of what you take home monthly will not be affected that much. So if you can do 10%, do it. And a lot of times, because plans normally allow you the opportunity to change how much you can contribute, quite often if you need to. So you could even maybe raise it for a couple months, see how that affects you. And if it doesn't affect you, leave it. If not, reduce it back down. But that's definitely something that there's never too much that you can save. You always want to try to save as much as you can, but you don't want it to have an impact on your day-to-day expenses where you're dipping into your cash reserves or your savings, but you do want to save as much as you can. And I will say I have worked with quite a few of the Century folks with your ESOP plan that you tend to get maybe monthly checks on. And I've had some folks that haven't figured out exactly what they want to do with it. I've got some folks that come in once a year with their check and want to add it to an IRA. But one thing I'll definitely tell you, if you're 59 and a half and over and you still have assets in your plan, is definitely worth the conversation, because without any doubt, I can tell you we can do a better job probably with less risk than what you've got at the current 401k without a significant increase in cost. And it will really allow you to have that harbor from the storm, so to speak, when times get bad, Russia invades the Ukraine, or we have a mortgage crisis or whatever, because daily I get into the actual portfolios of the members that we work with and look at what's going on. I'm on conference calls pretty much weekly, if not daily, in terms of what's going on. And when you have access to numerous investment options instead of 12, 13, 14, like most plans have, you can really find avenues to where pockets of the actual investment and market are making money, even though the rest of the market may not be. So that's something definitely. And the nice thing is, when you do an in-service withdrawal, which is what it's called, it does not impact your ability to make contributions going forward. So if you're doing 10%, when you do an in-service, you move the maximum amount the company will allow. You can still continue your contributions moving forward. It's really taking your investments and giving yourself more control of them.
Well, I'm going to share a little personal. The importance of paying yourself first. Chris spoke a little bit about that. Even if you have a company match with your 401k, or you're giving your max with your 401k, it is still nice to have a way to save in another avenue. That way you have funds that are readily available to you if you need it. I recently had a family member that passed away, and Social Security sent $255.
Yep, they love you.
Yep, $255. Thank goodness, his family was prepared. So they didn't just rely on that 255, but if they had not, then they would have been in a pickle. So it is always great to make sure that you have a plan of action when it comes to taking care of yourself. Your retirement plan is your retirement plan. How you work it, if it's not in investments, maybe it's in a savings, maybe you decide, okay, I just want to put some in a money market, or whatever it is that you want to do. As long as you have a plan We want to make sure that we are taking care of you. Ask as many questions as you need to ask. You know, you may or may not do business with us. That is not an issue. The issue is we want to make sure you have financial resources. We want to make sure that you have the well-being information that is going to work best for you and your household. What you do with it, that is perfectly up to you. But as your partner with Century, we want to make sure that we're giving you the financial education that is needed so that you can have your best life and beyond to take care of you and your families.
Yeah, I would definitely say one of the things that comes up almost every appointment when folks retire, I want to take the money out of my 401k and pay my house off. Please don't do that. It's a really bad choice. Because funny thing about money in your 401k, when it leaves your 401k, it's gone. You're like, I'll save it back because I'm not going to be paying the mortgage. Doesn't happen. Hasn't happened in 23 years. And that tends to be when people retire, they're like, okay, I want to get rid of bills. You know, but there's a lot of things that go into how you take care of those, because how you access those monies when you retire determine how long that money lasts. And one of the things that we really look at is making sure that, and I hate to say I'm your friend, but I'm not really your friend. And if you make a bad choice, because I'm a fiduciary, I have to tell you that's a really bad choice. So, you know, if you're taking more out of your investments than what you need to, and you're going to run out, I got to tell you that. But our goal is to really, when you do retire, give you the financial freedom that you worked all these years for, and really be able to be protected if an event comes up unexpected, be protected if maybe it's something small, hot water heater goes out on the house or a car breaks down, because we really promote having ready reserves on hand, which would be your cash in your local bank accounts. We promote having your long-term money, which would be your 401k, which would be your investments. We promote the income stream from Social Security, and we can definitely guide you through when and how to take it, because a lot of times maybe, and people talk you out of it, maybe taking it early is the best thing for you. It's not always, unlike most firms and most advisors you go sit with, they have a, you know, cookie cutter stamp approach that this fits everyone. That's not how we do it. We really want to listen to the member and figure out what fits your scenario and how truly to get you where you want to be. And the nice thing about us from a standpoint of products, we're not tied to any company. We're not tied to really any product limitations or anything like that. So when it comes to an actual member, we really focus on exactly what you want. And it's really, regardless of the actual products that we pick, the goal is to take care of you. Unlike if you go see a person who works at Prudential, they're probably going to sell Prudential. If you go see a Nationwide person, they're going to sell Nationwide, Farm Bureau. And what I have seen locally in North Carolina is a lot of people, when they retire, they go to the only insurance or financial people they know, which is their car insurance people, which Farm Bureau, State Farm. Please don't retire with them. It doesn't work out long term. And if you do, I'll be there if you need me to pick up the pieces. But, you know, we really, you know, try to bring a very straightforward approach to everything we work with and all the people we work with. And that's really the end goal. But honestly, the planning process we go through, if you were to go to most firms, it's anywhere between a $500 to up to $1,500 benefit that we actually give as a perk or benefit to the members of Summit. So, but we definitely put a heart and soul in it. And I don't know if you've talked to, there's a couple of people that have actually dealt with me. If you call me at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday, 9 times out of 10, as long as I got my cell phone, you're probably going to get a call back. So we really utilize a different approach and trying to make sure that you get your questions answered, and specifically when you have concerns.
When it comes to Social Security, there are lots of benefits that are not, you know, in black and white, so to speak, and you have to really dig because of the individual circumstances. Benefits for your spouse, benefits for your children, benefits for other situations. everyone's situation is so different, but Social Security, once you start to research it, can have a myriad of benefits that our folks can take advantage of. That, not trying to toot our horn, but that is something that I know that, like I said, like Chris mentioned before, we do have an expert on staff concerning Social Securities that can speak to whatever it is that you are looking to do. You know, you have, a child that is going to be receiving Social Security benefits after a death, or, Chris mentioned a little bit about spousal benefits. There are so many other things because of our individual situations that Social Security can address. Sometimes it's not always wonderful when you hear it, but at least we want you to make sure that you have the information. So feel free to contact us at the credit union for any questions that you have. We will do the research for you. It's not always easy to find. And unless you are really meticulous about detail and really want to dive in to the world of Social Security, it's not the easiest thing to research a lot of things that may be individualized. So feel free to utilize the credit union as a resource. Like I said before, that is what we are here for. And we want to answer your specific questions or concerns and make sure that you have your plan of action for you and your family. Make sure that you have the information that you need.
If you do have life insurance currently that maybe you might have had 5, 10, 15, whatever years, I run into almost every day. I think my insurance does this. I'll tell you, most of the time it doesn't do what you think it's going to do. So another thing that we actually do, because life insurance tends to be one of those things we buy, we put it on the shelf and we forget about it. I just found a guy the other day that was a member up in Hickory, and he had $35,000 in cash in a life insurance policy that had a $37,000 death benefit. And lo and behold, he took the money out. And I mean, what's the difference between $2,000? So there's a lot of times there may be assets you've kind of forgotten about that really, as we go through the planning process, we pull everything together and we really look at all those options and opportunities to how to make sure that you're utilizing every asset, every bucket the best way possible. Some folks get a retirement and they're like, oh goodness, they're figuring out they didn't save enough. Well, good news is it's never too late. So we can definitely help you at any point that you're at, whether you've got $5,000 or 100 or whatever. It's all basically a building block to where you want to be.
Thank you so much for your time and your patience with us today. We do appreciate it. You all have a wonderful evening, and hopefully we'll see you soon.